Okay, welcome to our final of for all mankind, our final JLI class for the season. I'm very excited for the next one, which is all about, it's going to be really fascinating. The 250th year of America, which is July 4th, so the following week, we will begin called Sinai and Civics. I have my own name for it, but it talks about how our founding fathers read the Torah, read Hebrew, the elements of the foundation of this country, this amazing country that we have, we're blessed to live in. It's been the greatest country that's ever been to the Jews. Straight up, there's nothing to talk about. Yes, there is anti-Semitism. Yes, there was anti-Semitism, but overall, we flourished here, and we've had religious freedom. That's the key of it. And we're going to learn about founding documents. What does it mean, both in the legal sense, but also in terms of how closely they studied the Torah's values, and founding the just all men are created equal, created, believing in a God. What does equality mean? And lots of fun things. So I'm very looking forward to that. But tonight's class is definitely the cherry on top. I'm looking forward to Ken's presentation. We always start with a joke. Tonight's class is also sponsored to the recovery of a young baby, Tino Kakoin Ben Razel, who is the grandchild of Rabbi Laber. And hopefully you should only know good news, and God's got to do some of his miracles and tricks for that. Okay. It was Rosh Hashanah, and the Chabad rabbi had a really nice sermon. Any rabbi, you can do this joke with any rabbi. The rabbi had a great sermon. After the sermon, comes along one of the congregants and he says, Rabbi, that was really something. He says, yes, I prepared. I worked very hard. He says, I've just got a new job. I work for a local television station. I work on TV. I think we could get you on the air with your sermon. The rabbi says, Amen. What a great message. Okay. So the guy calls up the rabbi. He says, they only say they have only a 5 minute slot. There's only 5 minutes. Do you think you can take the sermon and get into 5 minutes? The rabbi says, yeah, I think so. He said, what about with all the important messages? He says, it's hard, but I can do it. Calls back the rabbi. He says, Rabbi, why didn't you do that on Rosh Hashanah? All right, so we're going to keep this timely, this class. I'm very excited about it. So let's go right into it. There's a little exercise at the beginning. Go to page 119. We're going to skip the little beginning piece, but this is very interesting. There's something called, I'm not going to go through the Greek philosophy, but ancients always looked at the world in cyclical time, which means even when you have time of peace, war will return, because there's always war and peace and just a cycle. And when you have years of plenty, you have what to eat, worry that there'll be years of famine. It was always like that. They were always nervous. We spoke about this in the very beginning. The main contribution of monotheism of Abraham was to bring, I'm going to share my screen actually, was to share it to the world. Where's the symbols way for me to do this? But we'll have to see as we get in. Sarah, can you see everything I'm showing?
Yeah, it looks like there's letters on top of letters, but
okay, here we go. I think now we're good. So everyone knew that things will get bad, just a matter of time. The cycle of fortune, if you have and this was always the case. We are going to learn a radical approach to Judaism about linear time versus cyclical time. And that is the fourth lesson. We've studied all the 7 Noahide laws in the previous lessons. We discussed about how to implement it, how to emphasize it, how to share it with others. Today's class it's called It Will Get Better. This is the Jewish innovation. So quickly join me. If you have a pen, you can write inside your book. But here we go. Part 1, the personal loop. You see exercise 4.1? Mushki, you'll enjoy this. Think about a personal goal or struggle you have worked on for a long time, whether it's a health goal, a relationship dynamic, or a character trait. How long have you been working on this? So you can fill that in. Do you feel like you're making lasting progress, or you keep restarting, which is what's called looping? So I'm going to say, honest charge to me, I'll speak for myself, is that and I'm very, very, very passionate about doing this now, is that I have dieted before. And it's taking its turns, and I did a good job. And then thank God things got very busy here at Chabad, and I was up late at night and was eating a little too much at night. So I'm actually I had a good conversation with a doctor yesterday. I'm actually very motivated. I'm gonna get hopefully an exercise bike. I'm gonna get very back into it. And I note to myself in my back of my head, you're not gonna really follow through forever, right? But this is a question that most of us, I think, what would most people answer this question? Do you think you make progress or most people always are restarting? Okay, part two. Let's go to the state of the world. When you follow the news, which I advise you not to do you feel humanity is moving toward a better future or repeating old mistakes? What do you guys say? Repeating old mistakes. Finally, number three. This is going to be very interesting. If you feel that you and or the world are always looping, what emotion comes up most strongly? In other words, if you feel in your own life, you try things, but you just keep it looping. But maybe you're not in your own life, you're going better. But in the world, it looks like it's always looping. It was time of peace, and then there's one war and another war, and then this war, the Ukraine war and Iran war, and it comes back and again and again. So it feels cyclical, very good. So here we have a bunch of emotions. Anybody wants to share one or two emotions I think is the most prevalent? Frustration, apathy, acceptance, cynicism, despair. Anybody want to say what do you think most people will feel?
Frustration and cynicism.
Okay, I think that's why I actually also checked those off. Anybody else? Any other things?
Frustration.
I think a lot of frustration. Apathy is an interesting one. I want you to give me the case for apathy in such a situation.
They stop paying attention, you just tune out.
Exactly. It's like you can't change anything anyways. We're really not heading anywhere anyways. So I want to say this is based off the Greek philosophy as well. I'm going to keep the class very timely, so I'm going to skip our first text. But King Solomon basically says this in text one. Ecclesiastes, he says, we've actually discussed this in an earlier class. Seems like some lines. Futility of futility, said Kohelet, King Solomon. Futility of futilities, all is futile. What does a person gain from all the effort he toils with under the sun? So you can read on, we're going to stop right there. Generation comes, a generation goes, the earth remains forever. In other words, it seems that we humans go through a cycle, there's birth, there's aging, there's growth, there's passing, and then it just keeps on going. So when you think of that, sometimes people say, I get that there are 7 Noahide laws and we should be sharing these messages with the world. But the world is not getting any better anyway, so who cares? Why put the effort in to make moral choices? Why make the effort in to do the right thing? It's not worth it anyway. So here comes a fascinating, I'm going to ask Ben to read this first, 2a. It's a great piece by it's called The Gift of the Jews. It's a non-Jewish scholar and writer, Thomas, I don't know how you pronounce his name, Kale? Anyhow.
Page 121.
Yeah, 124. Yes.
Say anything, but nothing goes unrewarded.
Right, the other way around, Mushki, you're right. Unpunished. Every good deed will go punished. No
All
good.
evidence points to there having been, in the earliest religious thought, a vision of the cosmos as profoundly cyclical. The assumptions that early man made about the world were, in all their essentials, little different from the assumptions later more sophisticated societies like Greece and India would make in a more elaborate manner. As Henry Charles Puech said of Greece, thought, and a seminal man of the time, no event is unique, nothing is enacted but once. Every event has been enacted, is enacted, or will be enacted perpetually. Same individuals have appeared, appear, and will appear at every turn of the cycle.
Before you go further, I want to ask you guys a question. Why do you think they looked at the world in such a way? That it was cyclical, there's no direction.
Because they experience, the moon,
Exactly.
sun setting, the moon, and all those things. They did nature.
Nature sounds like this.
Seasons,
Right? There's seasons. There's the sun going up and down, the moon coming. So everything looks like it's a cycle. So if you look at the world just naturally, this is what you're going to get. and you're going to see that everything's going to be a cycle, both good and bad, not just the moon coming, going, the sun coming and going, but times of peace, times of war. So we're not really heading anywhere anyway. So if we're not heading anywhere anyway, what is the motivation for us to make the right moral choice? Why should people say, I'm going to sometimes make a sacrifice, as you'll see in the video, which is amazing, for doing the right thing? So let's say you care about God a lot. Great. But is there any real difference? That is the question. So listen to this. This non-Jewish thinker realized that Jews were different. Check it out.
The Jews were the first people to break out of this circle, to find a new way of thinking and experiencing, a new way of understanding and feeling the world, so much so that it may be said with some justice that theirs is the only new idea that human beings ever had. But their worldview has become so much a part of us that at this point it might as well have been written into our cells as genetic code.
So I'm asking you a question. I know that there's a lot of war and times of peace, even in our times. Do you think the world is better than it was 1,000 years ago today?
Yes.
Yes and no.
Yes and no. Okay, that's good. A lot of sicknesses, yes, that's true. People are living longer. So if you get to look a little at the bigger picture of things, you start to see that there's a direction. That was introduced by the Jews. So now, as he says, it's part of almost the genetic code of everyone. Everyone understands that. But that is a Jewish revolution. We're going to see where that comes from. It's a really good text from him. So we're going to go for another text. You have to read again, 2b, 125.
You can hardly get up in the morning across the street without being Jewish. You dream of Jewish dreams and hope Jewish hopes. Most of our best words, in fact, new, adventure, surprise, unique, individual, person, location, time, history, future, freedom, progress, spirit, faith, hope, justice, are all gifts to the Jews.
We're not going to go through why these are all gifts to the Jews, but this is someone that's not a Jew who sees that the world before that did not see linear time. So this is all these things are results that you have hope. You have a dream that things are going to get better. Why do you have a dream? Maybe your dream should be a nightmare. Cyclical time is the way of the world, and Jews say no, there's something called linear time. Let us take Rabbi Adin Steinsaltz. My father is actually here, so he knew Rabbi Steinsaltz, and actually we're a bit related to him. One of probably the greatest minds of the century, certainly in Judaism. He is a single rabbi who's written commentary on the entire Torah, on the entire Talmud, and he did not grow up religious. It's a very interesting story. Michelle, you get to read text 3a and 3b.
Okay, time is not a random collection of undifferentiated moments, each following the next in an endless stream. Just as every location of space has its own individuality. So each moment in time is distinctive in character. One can never return to a moment in time once it has passed.
Another detail about the cyclical issue is that not only is it just a cycle, but it's like, oh, well, 10 o'clock happens today and happens tomorrow. Once you realize there's linear time, we're in a direction. The 10 o'clock of today and 10 o'clock of yesterday are not the same. There is something that should be accomplished at every moment. So read on 3b.
Okay, we can therefore understand the deep dread within the Jewish tradition for wasting time. Each wasted moment represents a lost opportunity that can never be replaced. I relate to that.
You relate to that. Okay. So I want to say this is a very Jewish concept. I'm skipping a lot of on the screen, but again, history is constantly cycling, but at its core, each generation is the same. That was the ways of the world. Now look, one of the most important words in the Torah. No, we don't even appreciate this because we're so used to it. But to appreciate what Judaism brought to the world is, the first word of the Torah is in the beginning, Bereshis. In the beginning, and then it talks in the Torah at the end of days. So that means that there's a beginning and an end. That means it's a line. A circle doesn't have that. Let's quickly look at, we'll read this also. Can you read text 4, the birth of hope?
No people has ever insisted more firmly than the Jews that history has a purpose and humanity a destiny. At a very early stage in their collective existence, they believed they had detected a divine scheme for the human race, of which their own society was to be a pillar. They worked out their role in immense detail. They clung to it with heroic persistence in the face of savage suffering. The Jewish vision became a prototype for many similar grand designs for humanity, both divine and man-made. The Jews therefore stand right at the center of the perennial attempt to give human life the dignity.
So it's amazing, like the other person said, this is also a non-Jewish journalist and historian, Paul Johnson, also says very similar things that Jewish people really brought to the world. This is straight out of the Torah. There's a beginning. We're on a journey. There's somewhere we're getting better. So yes, there's still war, and yes, the wars of today can be more sophisticated and greater tools used because we have all this incredible technology we could use for the wrong things. But the bottom line is that overall we're on, and if you look at just hunter-gatherers till Industrial Revolution till today, it's getting easier. There's enough food on earth. It just, what we know is that it's not distributed properly. Okay.
Rabbi,
Yes.
did Paul Johnson write the book History of the Jews? Is that where?
Yes, that is what this is a quote right out of. You are on the ball. Very good. So it's
Okay.
interesting. These are non-Jewish historians and pretty impressive. Okay. This figure is very cool. I want to show you this quite quickly. We're going to differentiate, contrast cyclical time and linear time. What are the main differences? So I'm going to read Shape of Time, and you guys read the next two. Shape of Time. You see the next two
Circle,
line
everything,
across.
circle, everything.
Cyclical
looks like-
time, circle, everything loops back. Linear time,
A line time moves in a direction.
view of history.
Will be again, history is replaced.
It's just a replay with just new actors. Linear time says,
History is a story unfolding. Each era is a new stage in the process moving toward evolve.
so although it may seem that way, I want to tell you something that Baal Shem Tov said. Because even in Judaism, to be honest, there is cycles, right? We have 7 days a week. We celebrate Shabbos, and another week, and another week. In the seasons of the year, we go through the beginning of the year. We have Rosh Hashanah, then Yom Kippur, then Sukkot, right? There is a cycle. So how do you line up these two things? Definitely the revolutionary teaching of Judaism is there is linear approach. You should dream. You should have hope. We should have looking forward to something. What is going to get better? That's the main game changer. That's why every moral choice is important because it does influence the future and getting there closer. So that is the main incentive based on moral choices, based on a linear system, is that your moral choices do have an impact. The more good we produce, the more the world gets better. We get closer to a better and more perfect world. So I wanted to say that the Baal Shem Tov explained this, but his example was a Yiddish word called Schwindeltreppe. Tata, you know that word, Schwindeltreppe? Spiral staircase. I like to use an analogy of a slingy. You know those slingies the kids play with? It is cyclical, but it's going a direction. So Judaism really combines both approaches, but the main novelty that Judaism brought to the world is even the cycle is getting better and better. So yes, there is war and peace with it, but the types of peace that we're having is better than it used to be. Okay. Let's do this. This is interesting. Meaning of progress in cyclical time. Michelle, you're doing a good job. You can read it.
Come on, guys, join me. We're almost together.
Progress is an illusion. You run hard, but stay in the same place. Linear time, progress is real. Each step can move humanity closer to its ultimate destiny. View of the future. The future will be like the past. History repeats itself. Which seems to be very true. Again, this is a innovation that Judaism brought to the world, but the world, I think if you look at it in the big picture, you'll see this. Says linear time, the future it will be different from the past. Let's go to emotional response. With cyclical time, like you guys said, cynicism, resignation, futility. Why even bother? But the emotional response of linear time is, let's have hope. Things will get better. We have to take responsibility of our actions. There's an urgency. What I do does matter. And finally, role of morality. Okay? In cyclical time, what does the role of morality look like? Morality is maintenance. It keeps society from collapsing, but does not lead anywhere. This is a very important graph. The last two. And in linear time, morality is movement. Good actions are the engine that drives history towards its goal. What is the destiny? I know everyone in this class knows. What is the destiny? This is not only for Jews, because this class, as we've discussed, is the message for Judaism for everyone. Anybody know what the destiny is? The M word. What's the M word? Mashiach. Don't worry, the M word is similar to the G word. You know what the G word is?
God.
Very good. All right, let's read. Maimonides includes non-Jews in the time of Mashiach. Text 5, we're back to Ben.
Text 3 or text 5?
5, 129.
Okay, in the era there will be no famine or war, no envy or competition. But goodness will be in abundance, and all the delights will be as commonplace as dust. The occupation of the entire world will be solely to know God.
This is talking about Jews. It's about everyone. So yes, there is a place for the entire world, non-Jews included, in. Now, I want to say something. I'm going to show you a little video to depict this. This is not the video, but this is a great video. Okay, let's hold on to this. This is a favorite rabbi of mine from Atlanta.
So many people ask, why should I want Mashiach to come? So many.
Is this loud enough? Let me just make sure that it's not speeded up. Yep, okay.
People ask, why should I want Mashiach to come? And I think part of that question ties into our understanding of who is it that really wants Mashiach to come. Sometimes we think that, who's into Mashiach? Probably somebody very righteous and very spiritual. But the truth is, everybody, every decent human being really wants Mashiach. Because you ask somebody, what's your greatest wish for the world? If you could make one wish, not for yourself, but for the world, what would you ask for? Wouldn't most people say world peace? Or an end to illness, an end to pain and suffering? Or a world in which we all get along and there's no animosity, there's no violence, there's no jealousy, there's no hatred? That's, I think, the wish that we would all have for the world. That's Mashiach. So the question of who should believe in Mashiach is really about understanding why we should want Mashiach. Why should we want Mashiach is predicated on the fact that Mashiach means the best of the world that's possible. It means living in the best world that's possible, the best environment possible. So somebody encounters pain. Every human being encounters pain. Every human being encounters struggle and challenge, adversity, loss. And in those moments, a person wants one thing: to be relieved from the pain, to not endure that suffering. Mashiach is a time when there's only perfection, when the world is at peace with itself, with its creator, when human beings are at peace with themselves, their fellow, and their creator. That is the ultimate state of being. And that's something that everybody really wants. The problem is, everyone wants it, but we don't associate that with the word Mashiach, with the word Messiah. We think of it as some sort of strange belief or strange phenomenon that only fringe people believe in. Everybody wants Mashiach. They just don't know yet. What I mean is they just don't know what it's called. That what everyone wants is Mashiach.
Stop right there. So, what I liked about this video is that we're just catching up on our slides here, the cyclical root. Okay. When you read the Maimonides, this is what everyone wants. It's not a crazy thing. Yes, there are miracles that may happen in later stages of Mashiach's arrival, but this is what everyone's praying for. The Rebbe says, you could see the word in Hebrew, Geula means redemption. Look at you don't have to even look at your books, just look on the screen for this. The word Geula, which is the word on the very left, is Geula, is basically the same exact letters as exile, Gola. The only one difference is an Aleph. So exile and redemption are very similar. It's not like, oh, we're going to go to this different planet and everyone's going to be very religious there and everyone's going to wear shtreimel and have long beards. It's not what Mashiach is about. It's that the same world that we live in, our jobs, our lives, our homes, everything that goes about it. Yes, even the Knicks. It's not like if Mashiach comes now, the Knicks game will be canceled. They'll just have, I don't know, they'll sing Ani Mamin for the national anthem. I don't know what'll happen. But it won't happen. That's what I'm saying. It's not rather, Aleph, which means the one God, right? The first letter of the alphabet, is inserted into exile when you start feeling the presence of Hashem. And what that means is the oneness of the world, what the world really is about. And that's Geula. So it's amazing that the Rebbe explains it in text 6.
Question.
Yes.
Doesn't the Mashiach is going to be as great a prophet as Moshe was?
Good. You
So
are.
he's going to talk to God nonstop. So he's going to be the voice of God to the world.
You're asking a very good question. Yes. It says that in wisdom he'd be greater than Moshe, and in prophecy. So he'll be the one communicating God's word. But I do think that also it's not just going to be, he'll bring the era of Hashem's word, but then everyone, obviously he'll be a teacher to Moshe, to the rest of us. But all of us will have a heightened awareness of spirituality, more sensitive to the world, the way Hashem runs it. So text 6 is a talk from the Rebbe that was the last time the Rebbe spoke in the summer of 1991. Following year, he became ill. So this is the last talk the Rebbe said, and he spoke about time of redemption. Michelle, you're up to bat. Text 6.
Okay, word Beulah, redemption, is a fascinating connection. It is composed of the same letters as Gola, exile, with just an extra aleph. Beulah does not require us to abandon our life actions or the world as it was in Gola. The reality we experienced in exile is not erased, God forbid, but rather redeemed. Beulah is about elevating and redeeming life within Gola. Transforming the very essence of exile into redemption, it's about revealing the Aleph, the master of the world in every aspect of Gola. Ultimately, it's about removing the concealment that exile placed over the true nature and purpose of everything, and uncovering the presence of the master of the world within it all.
So we're just bringing in the Aleph, the presence of God, into the world we already live in, and that is Geula. There's a bunch of verses here that emphasize, again, it's not only Jews. Let's look at 7b. I should give Sarah a chance to read. Maybe I'll give her a little longer text, but I need to show you this video coming up. This is amazing. 7b. Can you read the text? 7b and 7c? Sarah, if you're able to.
Me?
Marilyn, yes, Sarah, go for it.
The glory of God will be revealed, and all flesh together will see that the mouth of God has spoken.
All flesh. It's not only for Jews. Good. This is all from Isaiah 7c.
More?
Yeah, you continue on one more.
The enemies of Israel will neither harm nor destroy on all my holy mountain, for the earth will be filled with knowledge of God as the waters cover the sea.
So the first part of this verse from Isaiah is about peace in the world. The enemies of Israel will cease to fight. Then it says, why? Because everyone will be universally understood the truth of Hashem. So now I'm going to tell you an amazing story. Although there's universal redemption, it all starts with each and every one of us. I know, but I want you to catch this. This is amazing. Last week, we spoke about different ways to spread the ideas of the 7 Noahide laws. We spoke about, does anybody remember what we spoke about last week? It was a while back. We spoke about mostly the law of the moment of silence. It's in your books. But I didn't show you that, but look at the back of that section. You can see which states already have legalized it or mandated it, page 112 and onwards. Bottom line is, that is important. The Rebbe said to educate everyone, not only Jews, again, not a Jewish school. This is public school for everyone. And you mentioned that when you were in public school, it was religious prayer in the morning.
Yeah.
And then there became a Supreme Court, so it had to be changed, not from a religious prayer, but for a moment of silence where every child gets to do whatever they want, meditate, pray, whatever their family instructs them. And the Rebbe said it'd be good for parents to be able to have the conversation with their children, because the kids are saying, well, they told me this in school. What do we think about? What are our family values? Which is very interesting. And we also spoke at the very end, we didn't have too much time, but also family units. A family is where these values are shared. But what we're going to learn today is sometimes the greatest way to teach is just to be a mensch on your own. And this story is an incredible depiction of just that. The honesty of this Jewish rabbi is legendary. Are you guys ready for this? Here we go. This is amazing. Let me just go off this for a second. Here we go. You may have seen this type of show before. You guys know what this is?
No.
Rabbi doesn't usually show this. But on this one, I need to share my screen. That's right. Okay, share my screen. Okay, you're going to get a kick out of this. So this is a show, a TV show, and they feature a Jewish Orthodox rabbi. Todd, I want you to check this out. The story is he bought on Craigslist a desk. Do you guys know what he found inside the desk?
Money.
A few shekels. You'll find out. And on his own, he went and returned it. Let's see this story.
Well, folks, we have time for just one more thing. What would you do if you stumbled upon a pile of cash by accident? $98,000 to be exact. Would you track down the owner and give it back?
No.
Shut up! Shut up! Well, my next guest did just that. Please welcome Rabbi Miroff. Rabbi, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Tell us exactly what happened.
I was going to say, this rabbi is from New Haven, Connecticut, which is where my brother lives. There's a very big Jewish community there. As the Chabad community has grown there a lot. It's amazing.
Can you forward that? Can you forward that somehow to me?
No, we're still watching the video, but it's just
I
amazing.
know, but I mean, just I'm
Yes.
just putting it in your head.
Yes, you'll text me and
Okay,
I'll
good.
forward it to you.
So we were looking to convert this room in our house into a home office, and we're searching on Craigslist. We find the perfect desk for $150. We go pick it up, bring it to our house, and it just won't fit into the room of our house. So we take the top of the desk off in order to get it to fit through the doorway. And sitting behind these two file cabinet drawers is a shopping bag with $98,000 cash sitting inside. So right away I said to my wife, you know, this lady had actually told us when we were at her house that she bought this desk herself and put it together herself. So I said, this has always been her desk, this is her money, we have to return it.
So what'd you do next?
So we call her up and tell her on the phone that we found this, and she was just speechless. There's nothing she could say. She couldn't believe that we would call to tell her about it. The next day, I actually went with my family, my children. We wanted to bring them along, leave an impression on them for life, that they should learn about doing that which is honest and the right thing. And I'm a high school teacher as well. I told my students, I want my students to learn the same thing. And people should really learn from this occurrence.
Wow. Did you think twice about returning the money?
So we really didn't. Both my wife and I were raised as Orthodox Jews, and this was the only option for us. We're taught from a young age to be considerate about the feelings of others and to put yourself in someone else's shoes and think about how you would feel if you were them. And it's the right thing to do.
That's really, really admirable.
Thank you.
There's another piece to this story. You found out this money belonged to this lady. How, though? It was her inheritance.
Yes, that's right. She told us that she had received this money as an inheritance. She had lost both of her parents in recent years and was overwhelmed. Put it in the desk, and it fell behind the drawers. She didn't know where it had gone.
Wow. That's amazing.
A very nice, down-to-earth lady.
Well, most people in here, if they put $98,000 in a drawer and it fall behind, Everything in that house gonna get towed out. They tearing sheetrock off walls. That would have been amazing. Well, look, we heard you were outfitting your office. So Fairhaven Furniture in New Haven, Connecticut is giving you a $3,000 gift card to complete the job. So you can do it. That's really nice of you, man. Really, really great guy. Listen, folks, special thanks to Rabbi Miroff and to all my viewers.
There's a better, a shorter version. I just thought you guys get a kick out of this more. But you see, his house is very simple. It's not. He doesn't live in extravagance. He says he's teaching in a high school. He's a rabbi in a yeshiva. Okay, in yeshiva high school, and look at that. Now, could you find this? I mean, I'm sure. Hopefully, the world has this. But this, just by acting correctly, the guy didn't try to become a big miracle worker. He just did the right thing. And we learned, and remember the class before that. Oh, is that considered really stealing? If I keep the money, she doesn't even know that I have it. She doesn't know where it is. We learned the high standard of Jewish morality. One of the best ways for us to influence the world, and I want to say that there are a few stories of this recently, even in Israel, but when the world sees such a thing like this, you realize these people have a higher code of ethics. They live a higher life, the Jewish people. It's what's called a massive Kiddush Hashem, a sanctification of God's name on steroids.
So, but the thing on the Jewish law, he was obligated to return.
Correct. It wasn't an act of righteousness. According to Jewish law, we learned, we're going to see a case in the Talmud exactly that. Let's read. I'm skipping some text today because I really want to be able to finish off. Let's read. I'm really skipping text 10a and 10b. You could read it. It's very interesting. I could share with you in short what it's about. It's about the story of Jacob. No, I'm going to tell you this. We're going to read this. 10a and 10b. Story of Jacob finding a wife. He ends up like all the great rabbis by the town pub. Do you know what the town pub was? The well. Everyone came together l'chaim. So Jacob's by the well, and we'll see that there's this big rock covering the well, and no one can pull it off. And all of a sudden, Jacob, they have to wait till all the shepherds arrive, and together they schlep the rock off. But Jacob comes, as you'll see, there's different interpretations how he had the strength to do this. I don't know who we're up to. Sam, when you sit next to my father, you'll read. Join there, you'll read. We're going to go with Marilyn, who didn't have a chance at 10a, the Rolling Stones. No. Rolling the Stone. That was a joke.
What page?
134.
Okay, coming up.
Now, yeah, you're going to have a chance to read them. Sarah's bringing up a good point. Obviously, in the world, many people go out of the way and do acts of incredible kindness. It goes without saying. I just have heard these stories again and again within the Jewish community. I think it's something that we should be very proud of. And that means that people say, oh, well, there's some crooks in the Jewish community. Yeah, I understand that every community has a few rotten apples. But the standards that we have, I think, are literally per capita irreplaceable in any other community. Okay, you're up to bat, Marilyn.
Okay, Jacob said, the day is yet long. It is not yet. My light is not on. It is not yet time to gather the livestock. Give the sheep to drink and let them go back to the pastures.
Good.
The shepherds repeated, we cannot do the... I'm so sorry. Hold on, let me turn the light on.
Yeah, you got it in the light. You'll get this.
Hold on.
He's basically asking the shepherds, why don't you guys give your sheep to drink? And they're going to respond that they don't have the ability till all the shepherds come. Then they'll start moving this big stone.
Okay, that's better. The shepherds responded, we cannot do so until all the flocks assemble. Then they will roll the boulder off the well's opening and we shall give the water to the sheep. As Jacob was talking with them, Rachel arrived with her father's sheep, for she was a sheep herdess. And upon seeing Rachel and the sheep, Jacob approached and rolled a boulder off the well's opening and gave water to the sheep.
So we have here this huge stone, which no one can pull off. You need all the shepherds to come. And somehow, Jacob's schmoozing with the shepherds. And they say they can't do it alone. They need to wait until everyone comes. Rachel shows up, and all of a sudden, he's able to just pull it off the well. This is his first meeting with Rachel. She obviously says, "Oh, this is the guy I want to marry." But what was the story of this? Was this superhuman strength? Was this a miracle? What was the story about this? So there's different ways to interpret this story. Let's look at a unique perspective from one of the rabbis of Ger. Ger is an important, till today, a very large Hasidic dynasty. Their last name is Alter. If you ever heard of someone named Alter, they're probably not a first name, it's a last name. They're probably related. And this is from the Sfas MS 10b. You're going to read, we're back to, Sam, you get to read this. 10b, 135.
Jacob saw the large stone covering the mouth of the well. Even if he himself was strong,
should he not have realized?
Should he not have realized that the shepherds would be unable to roll it away? At the very least, they should have tried. Perhaps they would have succeeded. So Jacob told them, "Give the sheep a drink." They must have been capable of doing so, or he would not have spoken falsely. God forbid. It therefore appears that had they made the attempt, they actually could have removed the stone, but they did not want to try.
Here's a life lesson. So whether or not, some people say, like adrenaline kicks in. When he saw Rachel, he was so excited to meet this woman who he knew would be his future wife, that adrenaline kicked in and he was able to have the superhuman strength to pull the stone. There's different interpretations, but the interpretation we're learning today is an interesting interpretation. There's a famous thing, how they train elephants. You know about the train elephant to the little rope? So when an elephant is small, they have this little rope. How do you tie that elephant? It could uproot a tree. So they have this little rope that's strong enough to hold it when it's young. But as it gets older and older, it could and has the power to do it, but it just told itself that that rope changes down. So it doesn't even imagine that it can actually do it. So it kind of self-tells itself that I cannot, run away from this rope. It's something that's learned as a habit. So this is like a mindset. Some people say, well, I can't really get out of this. They told themselves that, and they never even tried otherwise. What the rabbi is saying here is that Yaakov, there was always a stone on top of the well, so people wouldn't fall in, to protect the well, etc. These shepherds were told that, this rock is too, you need everyone together to do it. So when they weren't all together, they didn't even attempt to try. But Yaakov said, let's just try. Sometimes our own narratives tell us we can't do this. This is too beyond us. This is something that we would call, we are in exile in this situation. And Judaism tells us, no, you are given personal agency. You do not believe in the naysayers that say, oh, you can't. Try. So really, the way that this story is being explained according to this Rebbe of Ger, is that it could have been that the shepherds on their own could have moved the rock. Just they were told that they can't, and therefore they never tried, and therefore they always thought in order to move the rock, they needed each other. This is a life lesson as well about our own lives, how to be a light unto the nations. Sometimes they, not my ability. Well, try. Don't say you can't, because maybe you could. That is our first piece. And the shepherds were told a verdict. They said, and therefore they just bought into it. And Jacob said, no, let's go for the challenge. Now, remember I told you the story of an individual's action has its own inherent impact? That story got on TV. So now millions of people in America saw, first of all, a person doing an upright act, and the fact that he was Jewish clearly, and a rabbi, I think, shows, extra Kiddush Hashem, sanctification of Hashem's name. He didn't say this, oh, well, that's what I decided was ethical. He said, well, I was brought up, this is what God wants. This is what you do. We're going to watch a story of a different individual, also This is an interesting story. Has anybody ever heard of the Holocaust survivor David Chase? David Chase you'll see, he's a Holocaust survivor. He came with nothing to America, and he became a very wealthy man, and he became a very big giver of tzedakah. He had a close relationship with the Rebbe. I'll tell you something, my father, Tati, what building did David Chase own in Albany? One Commerce Plaza. You know the tall black and white building? Right across the Capitol, Alfred Smith building, right across. He owned that building. So when he owned it, he actually gave my father a Chabad office. And I remember as a kid growing up, I don't know, what floor was it on? 11th floor, yes. I don't think it's true, but I always remember that we figured out how to open up one of those windows a teeny bit. We would throw a yarmulke down the window, but I don't think that ever happened, because I'm sure those buildings' windows cannot move. I don't know. Anyhow, back to the story. Is David Chase was a great Jew, and he was very, very, very involved in rebuilding Judaism in America. Certain Chabad institutions, especially 770, and you may have heard of the Morristown Rabbinical College of America, was very involved. He had a yacht. He's a very successful man. No one's watching him on his yacht. There's no rabbi on the yacht. Listen to the story, the Rebbe and his relationship and the yacht.
David Chase was born in Poland. As a teenager, he was deported to Auschwitz, where his mother and sister were murdered. He survived multiple camps before being liberated at Mauthausen. After the war, he came to the US. He built a business empire from scratch and devoted himself to philanthropy. Over the years, he developed a close relationship with the Lubavitcher Rebbe, who once sent him a personal request.
I received a memo. Dear Rabbi David, it is not proper for a friend, ask a friend for a birthday gift. But in your case, because of the relationship that we have, I would ask you to give me a birthday present, which in fact would result in you putting on tefillin and saying at the Shema Yisrael. And if you can't do any more, I'll be satisfied with that.
David quietly added daily prayer to his routine. A few years later, in 1983, he attended a gathering celebrating the Rebbe's 81st birthday. To his astonishment, the Rebbe shared a lesson drawn from David's private life.
Als ik ben een Jid en door is terecht, maar Jonen wie schon im Tevi sein, ihm bin ich besser, wo der Rebester hat ihm geschenkt mit an Chosim, zwischen sie Echet geschenkt ihm von Nutzen Gesundheit, a Schiffel, Loschen Hamedina, a Yacht. Bischassel ist ein Ried gefahren, Kedarke, Misman, a Verport, etliche Tag. Auf haben die Jemea Chefisch auf sein Yacht. Bischass vielleicht kommen, Mann hat viele, der gewusst hat, die viele, schmeine Essen, die viele Samide. Darf sein Ponov Yerushalayim, hat gedacht wissen, wo sie gefindt sich miser.
This was long before smartphones and compass apps.
In the morning when I got up, when we were on the way, I called them up. I said, by the way, Captain, what's our heading? It was the north, south, east, west, so many degrees. For 2-3 times when I asked him originally, he said to me, Mr. Chase, gave me such and such, such and such. Then one day he says, are you trying to learn how to run a boat? You're starting navigation. I said, no. What I want you to know is that I every morning pray to God before I go upstairs, before I have breakfast. And I say my Shema, I didn't go into details, but I want to face east, which is Jerusalem.
The captain was deeply struck.
Eba sie sagt als nicht gucken dich auf drüber, was gar am Matzliach in Asoki. Und natke die Kacha der Gerisha Chevil in Bema Mishoris. Liegt im Kopf, zu trachten wegen dem Nebischten 3-mal am Tag, wie hatke die Kacha. Und nicht nur zu Stammer trachten, nur stellt sich weg, nafsig mit Kolin Jono, und will mechaven sein, darf geponnen le Mizrach, כדי די תפילה soll sein wie תפילה darf sein. Über sie sagt wird echt an mehr trachten wegen dem Ewigen. Was ist davon ein Reis bepeil, das hat verbunden dem Nitiden mit der Mitzwe, wo das ist Schäler der Linie auf die Zora, wo das ist der Linie von einer von der Schäfer Mitzwe in Nähe. Und wie bald eine Mitzwe hat in sich ein Tewe, eine Mitzwe, gereres Mitzwe, ist eine sichere Sache, dass es euch gehabt hat, Hemmscher, bei dem Reich Achevel, bei dem Kapf, wo der Fall Jomim shel Yachrize, als getrechnet Efscher Ton, a Sach, wo das nicht bezedek wie Jesche, und als der Mond, dass da eine neue Reihe von dem Ebersten hat es ihm aufgehalten.
Later, Captain Dick Winters told David he shared this message with family and friends, insisting if more people paused each day to think about God, the world would be a better place. A captain, a question, a moral compass. Sometimes the most powerful teaching isn't a speech, it's a way of life.
Isn't that a great story? So that story mirrors what we spoke about before, is that sometimes instead of just preaching it, but just the way of life, living that as an example. David Jace wasn't trying to influence the captain to become more religious. He was just davening. But when the captain said, this guy's curious about East, why does he need East? Why does he need God? He's successful. The guy understood what type of wealthy man he was. He was driving his yacht. He said, you know what? I can have that more in my life. And later it influenced him when he had questions in life and dilemmas to make. Here is the story of the desk with Craigslist is right out of the Medrash. You ready for this? Tati, listen closely. Text 11. Sam, you got to read already? You did. Sarah, we're getting you to read again. Anyone in the room that wants to read can always read, but I'm giving it to Sarah. Sarah, take it away. This is a great story with a donkey and a jewel.
Which one, what page are we on? I'm sorry.
Page 137, text 11. Follow along if you're in person here so you can hear. Go for it.
The story goes that Rabbi Shimon ben Shattach bought a donkey from an Arab. His disciples went and found a gem hanging from its neck. They said to him, Rabbi, God's blessing makes you rich. Rabbi Shimon ben Shattach replied, I purchased a donkey, not a gem, and went to return it to the Arab. The Arab then exclaimed, Blessed be the Lord, the God of Shimon ben Shattach.
So the Arab seller sold him a donkey. They come home and they realize this guy, there's a little collar and there's a little gem, there's a diamond or some type of gemstone. And Rabbi Shimon Shattach said, I bought a donkey, not a gemstone. Here we have a story on the other hand, another rabbi, this is from also a midrashic level text 12. Ken, why don't you read this?
Rav Safra had a donkey for sale. A man approached him while he was reciting the Shema and asked, "What would you sell me the donkey for this price?" Rav Safra didn't respond. Thinking that Rav Safra wasn't satisfied with the offer, the man increased his bid and said, "How about for this higher price?" Again, Rav Safra remained silent. After finishing the Shema, Rav Safra turned to the man and said, "As soon as I heard your first offer, I decided to sell it to you. I won't accept more than that."
So again, no one will know this. This is his own honesty. He said, I was saying Shema, I didn't respond to you. But when you said, let's say 100 ruble or whatever, 100 shekels, I was ready to do it. So even though later you upped your bid, he bid against himself for 200 shekels. This is about the way to influence others by being just following the moral code, even if it is unpopular, even if no one else will know about it. So, the main question that is always asked about this topic of the 7 Noahide laws is, in the code of Jewish law, it doesn't mention it. In responsa, we did a lot of response in the previous course. It doesn't mention it. What is the deal? If this is so important, the 7 Noahide laws is God's basic moral compass for humanity. Why is it that no one throughout history has been doing this? There's a very obvious answer to that. What is the obvious answer?
I can't find it.
Thank you, Risha. The answer is yes. Throughout Jewish history, Jews have suffered great fate, even to practice their own religion. So it would have been literally sacrificial in the negative sense for them to be telling non-Jews what is God's message for the world. Just even practice their own religion in silence and hiding was difficult. The Rebbe said now is the time, right before Mashiach comes, that we are now given the freedoms. The world is ready to hear our message. Text 13. We're going to have Marilyn, why don't we get to read? This is a talk from the Rebbe, text 13, page 140. If you're able to unmute yourself.
Okay. It is well known from Jewish history that in earlier generations, even in countries where conversion was not technically illegal, Jews were extremely cautious about anything that might appear to assist conversion. Even when a person came on their own, Jews avoided actions that could be interpreted as advocacy or promotion of conversion. Why? Because it could still be dangerous. It could still lead to rumors, accusations, and hostility. There was also the fear that such incidents would be used against Jews in other countries, as we see from medieval disputations and even in later generations. The same applied to influencing a non-Jew to observe the 7 Noahide laws. This too could be viewed as interference in their faith, especially since one must say that these laws are to be kept because God commanded them in the Torah through Moses. Therefore, in general, Jews had to refrain from this because of real danger to life. In rare cases where something was done, it was with great caution and without publicity. This also explains why responses on this topic were not publicized and why the law is not mentioned in the Shulchan Aruch and its commentaries. In those times, it was a matter of danger to life. But where that concern does not exist at all, as in countries like ours, the directive does apply.
Beautiful. Thank you, Marilyn. So there has to be what we see on the screen, respectful dialogue, which is allowed nowadays. So throughout the time of our history, safety concerns precluded Jews from sharing our universal moral message. Now is our time to channel our inner Abraham. Remember, our very first class was about Abraham versus Noah, why we are called not only Noahites, that's the entire world, but the Jewish people are chosen to come from Abraham. Because Abraham didn't just be very obedient and devout to God, but he was ready to share this message with the world around him. Let's read the words
Can I ask you a
God
question?
told Abraham. Yes, Sarah.
It's a really quick question.
Yes.
What was the question? Okay, it went in and out.
Yeah, if you think of it, you'll let me know. Here we go. We're finishing up, as I said, very timely today. 14a. But before
I remember.
Yes.
Besides the one verse in Torah that where God tells Noah not to consume blood or something like that, instead, there's another thing. Is there a verse in Torah that talks about the 7 Noahide laws?
Yeah. So you asked this question before. I never got back to it. But I will get
never
back
asked
to
this
that.
question.
There is verse in the Torah. All the 7 are written in the Torah.
Oh, they
Good.
are? Okay.
Yes. Okay. We all know, and I wrote an article about this, about stardom, Jewish stardom. I thought it's a fascinating topic, the word kochav in Hebrew for star, which is a Kabbalah behind it. But today we're going to focus just on the simple reading of the text. God tells Abraham, God took Abraham outside and said, text 14a, page 141, look out towards the heavens and count the stars. Can you count them? God said to him, so shall your descendants be. What is the significance of God telling us we'll be like stars? So there's multiple explanations.
We're made from stardust.
Okay, I want to say that there are many explanations. The simple reading of this is that God said, well, can you count them? So there be so many Jews. Now, throughout our history, have we really seen Jews have always been the smallest of the population, always the most persecuted, so we haven't grown. Here teaches the previous Rebbe. What does it mean? 14b, page 142. The Jewish people are compared to stars shining in the heavens. By their light, even one walking in the darkness of night will not lose their way, right? That's how navigation was originally for boat, seafaring ships, and for people that would follow the stars. Every man, Jew, man or woman, possesses sufficient moral and spiritual strength to influence friends and acquaintances and bring them into the light. So what are we like Abraham? God told Abraham, you guys are going to be like stars. You have a light. You're here to guide the world. So as we come to the finale of today's class about the role that we Jews have, we've learned a lot of things. We, number one, have realized a lot of the gifts to the world, the very first texts, are Jewish. The very concept that you should, looking forward to the future, you should dream big. You should have hope things will get better. The world is getting better. Even though it seems cyclical, that's a Jewish innovation. And we've seen, again, if you look at just the basics, things, running water and all the things of our time, how life has gotten so much, on one hand, easier and more comfortable. Yes, there are challenges comfort presents and, laziness and other things. But we are given in our hands the tools to do the work that God asks us to do. And we also learned that one of the ways, in addition to last time talking about education, last time we spoke about family values, it's a way to spread it, but just being a mensch on your own boat, no one around you, doing the right thing can have an effect on others. Especially, I really like that story of the rabbi who made a Kiddush Hashem, a sanctification of Hashem's name, by returning something that no one would ever have any claim against him. I wanted to ask, maybe Ken can talk about it legally in American law. Does he, you'll share why and why not. Okay, anyhow.
Yeah, no.
The bottom line is, I think this is an incredible journey. We've done 4 lessons I'm about to share with you. Again, I'm super excited. We're going to have a month break. It is going to be called Sinai and Civics. It's about the Jewish values that shaped the amazing American country that we live in. We thank Hashem for these blessings. God should continue to bless everyone. Jewish people protect Israel, obviously. We have them in mind during these times, especially we have family there. All Jews are family, but we know what's going on the ground. And there should be peace and long-lasting peace out of strength. And the concepts we've learned here today are, just this week, do you remember my story with my friend, the Muslim guy from Afghanistan? I invited him over and he kept saying, I don't need to come. I said, I want my kids and my wife to see you. So we had a whole meeting here right in this room. And we gave him, my kids made cake for him, almost as good as this cake, and all the other things. And we schmoozed together. It was a really nice time. And the key element of the whole takeaway was, he said, can I have one of your Torah books? Now, he's a man, obviously, that officially in Islam, the Bible is sacred, but, he wants the Jewish version, how it's understood. And it was clear to him, I gave him one, and it was clear to me that the world is looking forward to, most decent people want to hear the message of, everyone believes that this is the word of God, and we have the ability to do that in many ways, through our families, through education, but also just being a mensch on our own, with no one looking, you can never know what effect it will have. So our next course will come up in a month's time, 250th year of America. It's going to be very interesting. I'm already learning a lot by looking through it and preparing it. So we're now going to go through what we learned in the 4 classes. You can join me on page 143. Step 1, review the journey. Look back, there are 4 pillars of this course. Lesson 1, the who. I'm looking inside the book, you can follow on the screen. There is one creator, the true and only source of morality, who is invested in the world. Lesson 2, the what. There is an objective moral structure for humanity, the 7 Noahide laws. Morality must come from beyond human opinion. Again, otherwise it just moves along and back and forth all the time. Lesson 3, the how. Values are transmitted through homes, education, modeling, and lived environments. Finally, lesson 4, today's class, history has direction. Yes, we're not in a ever-ending circle and cycle. Every moment matters. Our moral choices move the world forward towards Mashiach, and Mashiach includes anyone that wants to be part of it, the nations of the world. So, a little question for ourselves: which of these ideas hit each and every one of us the strongest? What is the most important? I'm not going to do this exercise with you, but I advise you to do it. Think about how one of these ideas can become part of your life. Very, very valuable. We are now going to go to our key lessons, and then we're going to have Ken share with us. So, what is going to be discussed in the upcoming course, Sinai and Civics? This course will explore how fundamental Jewish principles inspired and shaped America, what it means to be an American Jew in 2026. We will learn about the Jewish concepts of covenant, liberty, human dignity, economic opportunity, checks and balances of government powers, trace the fascinating roots that took to shape Americans' foundations. By taking this course, you will become a prouder Jew and a prouder American. Gain deeper appreciation for what American means to us, especially us as Jews.
There's CLE credit?
Yes.
What so?
Yes, correct. Ken is reminding me that is also for those who are lawyers is CLE accredited, and I hope that Fred will present that one, unless you want to do it again.
He doesn't want to, I'll do it.
I love it.
Lesson 4. It will get better. 1. Without a clear destination, morality can feel like endless, pointless effort. A lack of a compelling why leads to apathy and cynicism, as the struggle for goodness feels like a loss rather than an investment. 2. The ancient worldview saw time as cyclical, with everything repeating. Judaism presents a shift. Time is linear, with a beginning and an end, meaning every moment moves us toward a meaningful destination under God's guidance. 3. The Messianic era, the ultimate destination described in Judaism, is a time of universal awareness of God's presence. This era is about more than physical comfort. It's the fulfillment of humanity's collective purpose through the revelation of God. 4. Redemption is about transforming the world, not escaping it. The key difference between exile and redemption is the revelation of God within the world. Every action that aligns with God's will brings the world closer to its ultimate purpose. Spreading awareness of the Noahide laws helps bring about this transformation. 5. Personal redemption mirrors this larger vision. Just as history moves toward a destination, each person has the ability to move toward their own personal redemption, changing and growing with purpose. 6. Personal redemption mirrors this larger vision. Just as history moves towards a destination, each person can move toward their own redemption, but this depends on mindset, believing that change is possible, and choosing to try again allows a person to grow with purpose instead of remaining trapped in cycles. 7. We spread the message of the Noahide laws through example. In today's free world, it is also our responsibility to proactively share this message, guiding others towards the ultimate purpose.
All right, Ken, you're on. I'm just going to minimize this. There you go.
Okay, so we have a time limit, but we have plenty of time, but I'm not gonna take too long anyway, because I wanna get home in time and get ready for the Knicks, and hopefully they'll win. So, my topic to end this class, is the law and morality. How did we get here and where are we going? Okay.
Could you answer first my question about the desk?
Yeah, that's a good question. I was gonna actually
Okay,
move
good.
that, but I'll tell you, I think, and I'm gonna get into that, but I think if the rabbi went to consult the lawyer would say, keep the money, we'll probably have a lawsuit if she finds out about it, but I think this is your money. And I think there would probably be, he'd probably win if he kept the money under law. And we'll talk a little bit about that,
Please.
what the difference is in Jewish law and secular law, and how probably secular law will never achieve the heights that Jewish law achieves. So my first question is, why do we have the law? And what does it do? And to introduce that, there's a joke, a parable, a metaphor, I don't know what it is, but two fish are just hatched. What are they called? Guppies, I think, little fish. They're just hatched and they're swimming through the water. And senior fish, an old timer, goes by the fish, says, "Hello, boys, how's the water?" And they don't respond, and they go past them and they look at each other and says, "What's water?" Did you ever hear that?
Yeah, I like it. I get it.
Yeah, and that's it. So when I ask why do we have the law? People say we've been living with it for ages and ages. So I'll give you a few things, and if anybody has any other suggestions. Number one, it gives us a sense of identity. And what do I mean by that? Since time and hunter-gatherers were coming together, we're tribal. We are all tribal and social. We're social beings and we're tribal. And from hunter-gatherers to the agrarian society, to industrialization and urbanization and the nation states, and then international, we became international. Through all that, we were tribal. We're still tribal. And what the law does is it gives us a sense of identity. We have many identities, but if you think about our identities, what are we? What's your identity?
Fish in a bowl.
Huh?
Fish in a bowl.
You're Jewish, right?
Oh,
That's
that
it.
identity.
Yeah, that's an identity. What else?
American.
American. Anything else? New York City, New Yorker.
New Yorkers.
Where you grew up.
Albany, right.
Yeah. What town? The town of Colony. You're very active in the town of Colony, right? All these things are, and they all have laws, and they give you a sense of identity. When you think about Judaism, what do you think about? You think about the Torah and laws, right? Kashrut, the mitzvos, observing the holidays, the rituals, the Noahide laws, everything. When you think about your American identity, what do you think about? The Constitution, right? Checks and balances, Declaration of Independence. We're endowed by our Creator with life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? You have all, and that's the law. So that law gives you all that sense of identity. When you think about a New Yorker, you're a New Yorker. What do you think about? The Knicks, right? You think about, you live in New York, you pay taxes. You think about, all these things. The law gives you that sense of identity, and we're tribal, so we have that. We belong to these tribes, but it gives us that sense of identity. The big thing is, how do we integrate those tribes? Because we're tribal, but that gives you a sense of belonging, but it also gives you a sense of the other, right? We think of Jews, but then we think of Muslims, Christians, well, they're the other. And sometimes that can lead to very serious, it shouldn't, you think, but can lead to conflict. Of course, when you think we're Americans, who is the other? Russians, Chinese. The law should, so the second thing that the law should do and does do when it's functioning well is it integrates these various identities. So you're a New Yorker, but you also realize you're an American, right? And other than one time in our history when the identities clashed, right, during the Civil War, we think of ourselves in all these identities, but they don't clash. We're Americans, we're New Yorkers, and when 9/11 happened, everybody was a New Yorker, right? And we were Americans. So you think so when the law is functioning well, it integrates those identities, and when it integrates them on an international sense. You realize when you travel overseas, right? You went to England, Ireland, the law was there. It was protecting you, American law and also international law. So when you integrate the various tribes, that's when it's working well. And that's what the law should do. And it does seem to do it. I mean, unless somebody disagrees, do you think it does not do it? I don't know.
I like what you're saying, that even when you're going abroad, you still have another set of laws above it.
Right, right. The laws integrate. They should integrate. The laws of New York integrate with American laws, with laws of Georgia, maybe, or if you're going down to Georgia, you know what the law is. So that's another function. The third function is it preserves social order, social cohesion. So when you live as an American and you do things, the law is going to protect you in a sense. If you have a dispute with a neighbor or somebody else, or with there's a law that operates, so it prevents conflict, it prevents it, it manages it, so it preserves that social cohesion. So that's where it gets you. So the next question is, well, what about morality then? It did all these good things, right? It gave you a sense of identity. It integrates the various identities. Does it preserve order? But what about morality? And that's where we came in with the rabbi over there, right? Would he have to return it? Probably not. And I'd have to say this, most people, I don't think, would not have returned it, right? He's obligated under Jewish law.
It's an obligation.
It's an obligation. So when you think about it, maybe the one failing of the law is it doesn't obligate us to be moral. There's this philosopher, Peter Singer, who has this interesting, it's sort of like a trolley problem type thing. I'll give it to you. You're driving along the road and you look out the window and you notice it seems like a young child is stuck in a pond, and he looks like he's seriously in trouble there. He's gonna die, he's gonna drown in this pond. You get out of the car, you have new shoes, Italian leather shoes, $450. And you look, and the pond is very shallow. All you have to do is walk in and grab him, but the child is caught in quicksand, he's sinking. You're gonna ruin those shoes. There's mud, muck, water. Everything that you can imagine is going to ruin those shoes. You go in and help the child. I think most people would say, of course I would.
Right.
Of course I would. $450. Under Jewish law, you would be obligated to do that, right? Under secular law, you would not. So is there a failing of the law, of our secular law? And I think it's hard to say that the secular law could do that, right? I mean, how do you make your secular law?
You have to motivate the people. That's a big motivation.
It has to be a sense of culture, a sense of yes, that you were raised. The law can't do that, in other words, what I'm saying. Unless anybody disagrees. Singer does another part to that. He says, so everybody says they would rescue the child. Even a sociopath would lie at that point, say, but everybody. But he says, what happens if somebody comes up to you and says, I have a charity, and it is a reputable charity, and for $450, I can clean a water system in an African tribe and save a child every month who dies from. Would you give the $450 to that charity? Knowing that's it is a reputable, and that's exactly what they do. People would not. Could you force them to do that through the law? No, you couldn't do it. So that's where morality and the law clashes, and where it doesn't in Jewish law. I think if somebody were to come and say, give you that example of Peter Singer, let's say an Orthodox Jew, and said, well, you would go into the pond. How about giving me $400? And you're convinced it's reputable? I think the Jew would say, yes, I'll give you the $400, assuming he can afford it. But
right, if you can afford it. That's an amazing example. I like that example.
Yeah. So I think you're going to have that. Oh, I'm sorry.
She wants to rehear the example.
Oh.
Child. Tell her.
Okay. So a child.
I want you to tell me right afterwards, because I want to finish up.
Okay. So that is the problem. It is an age-old problem with law. It's not a problem in Jewish law, and that's what we should be very proud of. And and that's when the Torah says that you should be a light unto the nation. I think that's what they mean. You've got this. They can't fix it. You have to show them the way, because there's no way you can fix this with the law. And that's I think the gift of the Jews. I did read Thomas Cahill's book a long time ago. I don't remember it, but I think if I were to say what the gift of the Jews is, it is that our law met the challenge, and it will never happen in secular law, and that's going to be something till the Mashiach comes. And then other than that, morality is something we're going to have to be an example for, and you'll have to teach your children and your friends, because the law can't do it for you. Yeah.
First of all, I want to thank Ken. We actually have a gift for him for being this amazing presenter. It's not a Knicks jersey, I'm sorry. But I want to wish everyone a wonderful evening, a wonderful night. And we should always get together for good things, to study Torah and hear peace for the entire world and Israel. And yes, be examples in your own life, and you never know what your morality choices can do. And we are, each moral deed brings us closer to a more perfect world at the time of Mashiach. Thank you, Ken.
Yeah.